Okay, guys, look, we just checked YouTube and we just saw a brand new video from our friend Chris Lee. So we thought, you know what, we better talk about this and see what the hell is going on.
Wait, Sam. We're not in our special Chris Lee uniforms.
Oh, that's true. Okay, let's do it. What the fuck? Sorry, well, sorry, guys, wrong. Sorry. Okay, this feels normal now.
Let's fucking do this.
Let's do it.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. As you can see, we're fully kitted out. Our mum bought us these shirts when she was in Hawaii. She's like, take these,
and look
they're
at how
really
big
nice.
this is. This shows you how fat my mum thinks I am. Like, Jesus.
This is a large, by the way. By normal Australian shirt standards, I'm an XL, but in American shirts, I'm large, and even this is gigantic on me.
It's just ridiculous.
Crazy. It's absolutely nuts. Anyway, the reason we're wearing these shirts is because old mate Chris Lee, he's the state representative from Hawaii. He's a friend of the channel, I can officially say that, because we actually interviewed this man last year. He came on Laymen Gaming. We'll leave a link in the description below.
Sorry.
You wish, Sam. He came on Laymen Gaming. We did an interview with him. The link in the description below. It'll take you through. We talked about his stance on loot boxes and what he's working on at the moment. He has not been sitting idly for the last few weeks and months. He's been working hard, and he has actually tabled legislation in Hawaii in relation to this. And while that discussion has been going on, he's been hit up by lobbyists, if you can believe it, which funnily enough was a question that we asked him when we interviewed him. We asked him, do you have any lobbyists approaching you? He's like, not yet. Sure enough, he gets his name in the headlines, and now,
of course,
lobbyists. He's the guy, obviously, that is campaigning very hard against loot boxes. He hates them. He wants them out of the industry, or at least have the odds disclosed.
Yep.
And he's like, you know, he's doing a good job.
He's a good dude.
He's a very good dude. He put out a new video today, and I asked Sam whether or not he had watched it yet, and he said he had only watched the first part. And I wonder why that is. This is the first part of the video with Chris Lee.
What's the first part? He, that's
right.
Had his bot out, people.
That's right. Sam, at this point, was like, Sam could only really last about maybe 1.5 minutes in a Chris Lee video before he has to stop watching, if you know what I mean.
And like, clean up.
Exactly.
Jokes.
But like, this is Chris Lee here doing, I think, what appears to be a Coke commercial edition.
Yes, it
before
really
he does it.
does.
I'm really feeling like the taste the flavor, enjoy, love life. I'm loving it. Like, I'm getting that vibe here.
Feeling that. I'm
totally.
Feeling that.
It's a really good start, because then the rest of the video is then Chris Lee talking about what's happening in the fight against loot boxes. And he explained to us that while he's been, fighting this fight, that lobbyists from the ESA and the ESRB have reached out to him. Now, the ESA, Sam, is what?
The ESA is the extremely sexy authorization.
That's exactly what it is, Sam. You completely nailed it.
I thought I did.
You did. It's the Entertainment Software Association, and they're basically the industry representative, right? So they don't represent you and me. They represent big video game companies, like Activision.
They're not our friend.
They are not our friend.
They're not our friend.
Trust me. They do good things in many regards. I don't want to talk bad about them, but they're not in it for us. They're not. Their main concern is making sure that Ubisoft and Activision and EA are happy. It's not making sure that we consumers are happy.
I mean, it's funny that is there another one that of course represents us?
No, there's not.
There's not. Well, take note, people.
Laymen Gaming, basically.
Laymen, I was just going to say, take note, people. We're your people.
That's right.
Here. We're the ones that fight for you.
I'm surprised we haven't been called up to testify in front of Congress.
Yes, where's the lobbyists contacting us?
That's right.
Huh? Jesus, we've got the power.
That's right. The footage that we're seeing here is obviously of Chris Lee talking about the situation. Now, there's some really amazing footage that you have here, because in one of the public hearings that they actually had lobbyists from the ESA there present. And Chris Lee was able to question them. Now, the two people that are sitting in this portion of the video, it's not entirely clear who they are. And I've actually reached out to Chris for a clarification on this. One of them, the old dude, is definitely a lobbyist. And I believe he is a lobbyist for the ESA. The other guy, I believe, from reading the YouTube comments section, where apparently this was clarified, is just a concerned Hawaiian resident.
Okay.
So that's why you can do it. The footage that you're about to see right now is Chris Lee starting the line of questioning with these two people, the ESA person and also this concerned resident.
Thank you both for your testimony and time. Clearly, just reading through, I think the comments here and the testimony, the gaming industry is now a $36 billion industry, which is sizable, 3 times the size plus of the film industry in this country, and its rate of growth has been very rapid in the last 5-6 years, which I'm sure provides a significant sense of pride and accomplishment to.
That's great.
How good is that bird? It's the best
fucking
bird
great.
ever. I love this man so much.
Dude. He's like, I'm going to slip in some memes for only people that are worthy. And only people that are worthy are going to know what this means. And everyone else in the room's like, yeah, pride in the comment. Like, yeah,
Okay, but the best part is like, look at this, right? So he's asking the question. Look at this guy right
he fucking knows it, man. He knows it.
He's like, oh shit, don't laugh.
That's amazing. So he's the lobbyist.
No. The old guy's the lobbyist. And that dude is just a concerned resident, okay?
The issue of, which has been raised here with respect to in-game gambling-like mechanics, loot boxes, that sort of thing, that's something the ESRB currently rates?
I couldn't answer that. I'd have to go back.
Mr. Wade, can you answer that question?
The answer is no.
So what happened here is that Christy was asking, do you actually incorporate loot boxes into the way games are rated? Okay.
Yeah. Ultimately saying, is there any way in which you monitor that?
Yeah.
Like,
or a parent could be informed that this is a thing. And this ESA guy, representative of the industry, doesn't know the answer to that question. But luckily, old mate, local Hawaiian resident who actually plays video games and has the first clue about things, luckily is on hand to provide information. And he says, no, the answer is no.
And just quickly, and the way he answers, he's like, yeah, this guy's fucking shit. His tone was like,
I hate this old man.
Fuck you old guy.
The inclusion of gambling-like mechanics, specifically variable reward microtransactions, do not affect ESRB rating. In fact, the ESRB, one of their few public statements about the issue has been, this is legally not gambling.
Very true. And that is, when we talk about the ESRB, it's important to recognize the fact that they have come out and said that this is not really an issue that they need to be, getting involved with. They've said that this is not gambling, that this is, in a sense, fine. And obviously, that couldn't be further from the truth. Any ratings agency that believes that there is no scope for involvement when it comes to kids spending money gambling in video games is just laughable, like completely crazy.
It's just so it's so obvious that like someone that is regulating big companies but then are kind of on their side, you're not gonna get real results ever.
But the ESRB is actually funded by video game companies.
Well, that's even like it just shows like
it's self-regulation.
It's ridiculous.
There's
there's never anything that's going to be done with this kind of structure. Like it's ridiculous.
The UK Gambling Commission, among others, seems to identify this, or portions of this at least, as gambling. Their annual report recently just found that 45% of 11 to 16-year-olds are aware of what's called skins betting, where you have products which you earn out of randomized loot boxes, which you can purchase, which can then be traded for cash. So fundamentally, that seems to be gambling, if you can cash out these things for real monetary value. Is it not?
I'm not... I cannot answer that.
Like, that's so good. It's basically like...
You have to get to like a level of scum to be like, I can't answer that. I'm evil, so I can't answer that. Like,
here's a really clear example of something that's gambling.
Yeah.
Is it gambling? No comment.
Like, he's making a fool of himself.
He really
like,
is.
He
This
really
is
is.
really-
If you're going to walk into a meeting like this, it's going to be televised and you're going to be speaking to people that are passionate about the subject, make sure you know what you're talking about.
When it comes to loot boxes and that sort of thing, how does a player know their odds of winning something that they're paying for?
Well, first of all, I think the loot box, isn't that if I recall, that's an option. You have the option of purchasing, or you can, if correct me, but I think you can get to the end game.
Oof, God, that was painful hearing this dude say end game. You can't come back to
Wait.
You have the
Buying
option.
something.
You have the option to go with the loot box.
Sure. Anybody has an option not to walk into a casino, right?
Well,
Oh, Chris Lee with another bird. That's so good.
Pride and Ben.
No, the fact that this guy just felt like it was necessary to throw in the little optional comment,
Yeah.
like that part to me says that there's some like corporate goon that says to him, "Listen, when you get there and they ask about loot boxes, remind them that it's optional, okay? It's optional. And he actually doesn't understand what a loot box is. You can tell from that sentence.
He doesn't understand what
he does
in-game
not
is.
understand what any of those words mean. He just threw them all together, hoping that they made
100%.
sense.
That's why he keeps looking at his iPad. He's like, loot box, that's what that means. End game.
That's right.
Okay.
My notes from EA say it's just cosmetic, optional, pays for development. Development costs are expensive in 2018.
Yeah, money bag at hotel for you. Oh, great.
Oh, cool. Thanks very much. Done.
When you buy a loot box, if that's something you feel compelled to do as you're playing, how do you know what the odds are of winning something in that?
Can't answer.
Okay, cool. So this is like X-Ray move Mortal Kombat now. He's just getting completely fucked on. I can't answer that. Like, dude, he's just walk away now.
He
Like,
should too. And you can even tell he knows that he's fucked.
Yeah.
Like, this is the moment where his heart breaks. You know, like, this is the exact second where you look at him, he's like, oh, I think I'm getting fired for this. You know what I mean? Like,
He's like, yeah, my job is no longer secure.
Is there an age either the ESRB, as you had referred to earlier, or the industry has identified as appropriate to play games with these sorts of loot boxes?
Again, I would go back to the rating system, and I think the classification identifies what those categories would be.
So just to be clear, he said he'll rely on the rating system to talk about when it's okay for kids to play loot boxes, even though a moment ago he acknowledged that the rating system has no connection to loot
I was
boxes
gonna say that.
whatsoever.
Exactly right.
So good on you, champ.
Star Wars Battlefront 2, an EA game, came out. One thing that really shocked players was, one, loot boxes directly affect your ability to progress in the game, right? Two, and this is the thing that really got people's attention, was that when you are killed in the game, there is a screen that shows you what power-ups that are available only through loot boxes were used to defeat you in the game. So like that, there is a direct line between the things that the CEO was saying and the mechanics that were eventually implemented.
But
right?
just for correction, when that came out, wasn't that in beta form? And I think when you came back from the gamers that it wasn't put in the final game.
Yes, that is correct. Okay. And I believe there's been statements released from EA just in the last few weeks saying they're returning those mechanisms to the game.
Well, that I'm not aware of.
Okay, so this
So
guy
he thought for a moment, he's like, oh, I've got you now. And then
right.
Chris is like, no, you don't. You don't know what you're talking about,
clearly,
mate.
the EA speaking notes that they gave him were like,
Yeah.
make sure you say there's no microtransactions in there now.
Yeah.
And like that's the only thing they said. They didn't put in the part where they said, but we're bringing them back. Like,
Fucking hell.
they completely threw this guy out of the bus.
This guy should have walked in with an earpiece. Like, it would have been obvious as fuck, but at least he wouldn't have sounded like an
You would have had
moron.
like Andrew Wilson sitting in the back of the thing, like,
Yeah.
just make sure you say this.
Yeah,
right?
just
Just
a
say
pride
that,
and
this."
accomplishment.
Where would a parent go to find out whether or not a particular game they're looking at buying would be appropriate
site.
in that context?
To the site.
To where is that?
I can give you the Entertainment Software Rating Board site. I can give you that address.
That explains whether or not games contain loot boxes?
That I'm not aware of.
I don't know.
But as you just said earlier, they don't rate that, so I can only assume that they don't.
Sure. So if you're in a store here, let's say GameStop down the street, and you're looking at buying a game, is there anything on the game box that will tell you whether or not it's appropriate in that
Not
context?
that I'm aware of.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
All right, so
Even the baby was crying. He's like, God, I feel bad for this guy. This baby was in tune with this shit. He was like, oh no, this guy's dying inside.
let the poor guy out of his misery. Oh my god, what
dude.
a train wreck of a thing though. That guy is going back to home base and he's being like packing up his desk as he's doing it.
Man.
That was absolutely atrocious. There is no way in hell that person should have been put up in front of any group of people, especially legislators, advocating on behalf of the industry. It was embarrassing to the extreme, and like honestly, the ESA should be ashamed of themselves.
Look, it's also a moment where they could have, if they equipped themselves well, actually had. I mean, look, of course they're going to come out with bullshit of why they're leaving loot boxes as it is, but
at least polish that turd.
Yes, at least polish it. At least give us like some sort of put us in front of someone that knows what they're talking about and knows how to combat, that discussion. He had no idea what he was talking about.
Give us a worthy foe.
Give us a worthy foe.
Andrew Wilson is a worthy foe,
Yes.
right? It is honorable battle we do with that man,
Yes.
okay? This man It's just like
He's like Salacious Crumb. You know?
he's
Of
like
Star Wars.
He's like the Lionel Hutz of the EA
Yeah,
of the video
he's
games
such a
industry.
Lionel Hutz.
He
Yes.
really is. It's just terrible.
I think this is a huge victory today because, yet again, it's laughable and like they don't really have a case. Let's say that they put someone in front of us that was very sleek and he knew what to say. The
He or she.
He or she. Okay,
Sam,
of course.
Come on, please.
But you can still tear down those arguments if you cut through the bullshit, And once you cut through the bullshit, they don't really have much to say.
All we ask for, EA, is some high quality bullshit.
Yes.
Okay? You've been so good on your quality bullshit for so long. It's the one thing you
Yes.
have. Please don't let us down.
Ask
okay?
Konami then. Ask Bungie, man. They know
Totally,
how
they
to
got
do
you
it.
back on this, right?
So-
in the meantime, we're going to be looking to Chris Lee to continue the fight. He's done a fantastic job in this this hearing, highlighting the bullshit, and we appreciate the work that he's doing. We really hope that he keeps it up. We'll certainly be there, sort of, spruiking his message, amplifying what he's saying, and I really hope that you guys do the same. Share this video. Not our video if you don't want to. Share his original
share
video.
our video, it's amazing.
Share our video as well, but we'll leave a link to his video in the description below. Subscribe to his channel, share his shit, get the word out there. The fight against loot boxes continues.
Yep.
And Chris Lee is our man.
And we will see you later.
A significant sense of pride and accomplishment